Hello and welcome to another episode of the TNC Podcast. I am so excited to get stuck into this yellow and green conversation today. 45 appearances, 5 goals, 1 overhead kick, promotion hero, no nonsense Nelson, of course, the Admiral Nelson. It's Michael Nelson. Michael, how are you, my friend? How's things going with you?
Yeah, very well, thank you. All good. Got a day off today, so just at home for a change rather than being on the road. So yeah, all good.
Love that. Well done. How did the Easter chocolate go down?
Very well, with a couple of cups of coffee. So there's not a lot left. The kids have demolished most of it, so I didn't get left too much.
Love that, mate. Love that. Let's take you back to the beginning, Michael. If we may, many a year ago now, let's rewind to precisely June 2009. If you remember, you were one of 11 signings that summer that came through the Colney gates, took to the field at Carrow Road. What was your feelings like at that time, Michael, joining the club? What were you thinking and feeling going into that?
At first, I was thinking I have to get back to my honeymoon because I flew back from my honeymoon to sign. So I was, yeah, I had a couple of clubs interested before I got married, and then we went away on honeymoon, and we were away for 2 weeks. And fortunately enough, in the second week, a lot of our family came out. So it was right on the start of the second week. I got the call from the agent, and obviously spoke to Butts and came back. So I flew back in the morning. In fact, I think I got in the afternoon. Got to the club around about 5 o'clock. I think I went to get all the scans done. Back to the hotel at about 10. Had to be up at 6 o'clock to see the club doctor the next day. Got the contract signed, and then had a flight at 2 o'clock the next afternoon back out to the honeymoon. So yeah, we pretty much had a quick look around the stadium and really impressed with all that, obviously. But yeah, just trying to get back out so I didn't get too much trouble off the missus.
That is absolutely incredible. I don't know what it is about Norwich City signing players on their honeymoon. Andrew Sermon was another one that we signed on their honeymoon. Where was the honeymoon, Michael?
We didn't go far. We just went to Salou because we had our youngest boy had just turned 1, so we didn't want to go too far flight wise. So it was handy really that we weren't too far away. So it was a nice short flight back, and then had to get about 4 or 5 Norwich tops to take back out when I flew back out.
Of course. I was going to ask you whether Brian Gunn was a good salesman and how he influenced you to join the club. But by your last answer, Michael, it was actually more Ian Butterworth. Is that correct?
Yeah, he was assistant at Hartlepool with Danny Wilson, and I knew he was leaving to go to Norwich before the season finished at Hartlepool. And obviously, I got on well with him. Spoke to him over the summer, and he just said, "Have you got anything sorted?" And I said, "Yeah, there's a couple of bits and pieces rumbling on." He just said, "Do us a favour, don't sign anywhere until you speak to me." So I just kept him in the loop, and I had somewhere else lined up, and then obviously Norwich came along, and it was just a good fit, a massive club, and decided to make the move.
Well, I never knew that. Ian Butterworth, I know that you listen and watch to the podcast, so a massive thank you to you for securing the Admiral Nelson. We'll go into that nickname in a minute. Michael, I'm going to have to bring up a very bad memory for you, I'm afraid. You had the debut from hell. What on earth happened that day at Carrow Road against Colchester 7-1? I mean, where do you begin?
I think just everything that could have went wrong. On that day, I think there was so much hype and so much positivity around the place, and lots of new faces in the team. And you couldn't really say that pre-season wasn't disastrous by any stretch of the imagination. But it was just an absolute nightmare for everybody involved. Coaching staff, management, and the players on the pitch as well. But in a weird way, probably was a massive step in achieving what we achieved that season.
Yeah, I want to ask you about that actually, because that period, obviously, where Gunny unfortunately was asked to leave the club in some pretty poor circumstances, actually, as he revealed on our podcast with us. But of course, Paul Lambert then comes in, and that must have been such a turbulent period, because you've gone from that huge amount of positivity going to the season, getting smashed by Colchester United, sort of a local rival. And then, of course, Brian goes, and he sort of obviously had conversations to sign you. Then Paul Lambert arrives. What was that period like?
Yeah, obviously once Brian left, you've been brought in by a manager, and then not long after you've come in, he's left, and you don't know who's coming in. Then we get the news that Paul Lambert was taking over, which I was quite pleased about. I knew he'd had an interest in me before. During his time at Colchester, I knew he'd expressed an interest to sign me previously. So from that respect, I sort of felt quite confident and quite happy that he was going to get the job. And then when he come in, his first game, I wasn't even in the squad. Sat in the stand with several other players. So yeah, that was a little bit confusing, and obviously it wasn't. I wouldn't say it was not expected, because nobody, who had played in that first game had any right to go and knock on the door and say that they should be in the team. So I knew I just had to work hard and try and get back in. And then when the opportunity came, I had to take it, and I managed to do that.
So it started off on a bit of a sour note with Paul Lambert, despite the fact that he originally took interest in you back when he was at Colchester. What was your relationship like with him, Admiral? Because he was a very fiery character. He was a guy that had this aura of respect. He was very, very stern, took no nonsense. Was he like that behind the scenes? And how was he with you?
He was, when he first came in and we had a meeting, we were all sat in, I remember we were sat in one of the offices, the porter cabins at the training ground, and he came in, and it was weird. Like, as soon as the door opened and he walked through the door, it was almost like everyone just shut up and everyone just like took notice. And that's pretty much how it was for my whole time there. So yeah, he was like that, but behind the scenes, not away from training, but when some of the lads would stay back and go in the gym, and then we'd be getting showered in the changing rooms after training, and he'd walk down and he'd take the mick out of certain players, and he'd sit, and the lads would ask him about sort of the European competitions and when he played for Scotland, and he'd open up and tell you stories about playing against Brazil and playing in winning the European Cup and stuff like that. And it was really good, and he had a good way of telling the stories, and a good bit of humour as well. But any time around training or games, when it was time to work, everybody knew it was. So there was a really good divide between speaking to the lads and having that sort of approachable side, but also having that air of authority as well.
Was there a moment, Michael, where you got the quote-unquote Scottish hairdryer treatment in potentially after a game, during a game, after a game, at half-time?
I think we probably did, but I can't really remember too many. I'm not sure we ever lost back-to-back, if I'm honest. I think in the 18 months, I was there, I don't think we ever lost back-to-back games. If we lost, we either drew or won the next one. So there was never really a prolonged period of poor results. But he would come in, and he would sometimes he would come in and he would just sit, he would just stand there and he would just go through the team. So he would just go from the keeper all the way through. You were this, you were that, you did all right, you were bang average, you were terrible, and he'd go around and he'd like tell each individual what they were like during the game. And he would hammer people, and he would hammer us as a group at times. But as soon as he did that, he would turn around to sort of two of the senior lads, say, right, you're on press. Nothing negative, everything positive. It's a blip. It's a bad day at the office. It's a one-off. we'll get them throughout the season. Nothing negative. And then he would go out and he'd do the same. He'd absolutely go through us at the end of the game, but he'd go out and he'd back you in front of the press. And that's probably one of the reasons why we never lost back-to-back.
That is fascinating. That's a fascinating insight. I couldn't imagine Paul Lambert being that fussed about the press, but obviously did understand the value of having the local media on side and, making sure that the fans are positive, which is a very, very interesting point there. Michael, I was going to ask you about that 09-10 season, because obviously we wiped the floor with the league. Obviously, as you say, we pretty much, I don't think we lost a game back to back. I think your memory serves you correct there. 95 points. We beat Leeds to the title. That's not easy to achieve without doing something really special. For you, what was if you could put your finger on the secret sauce for that successful, League One promotion, what was it for you that made that team tick?
I think that when he first came in, one of the things he sort of touched on, and probably we probably knew it as a group as well, we weren't fit enough. I don't think we were fit enough. And he absolutely worked us ridiculously hard up until December. Every Tuesday was like a pre-season day. You would come off the training ground. So we'd have pretty much every Wednesday off. So Tuesday was a proper working day, and it was like you come off the training pitch on a Tuesday, and it was like you'd done a hard pre-season day. And you'd have DOMs, and you'd be stiff and so on a Wednesday. And he just worked us really hard. But when it got to December time and the games come thick and fast through December, he said, right, training will start dovetailing off now because you've got a lot of games. So he got us as fit as we could be, but we had a lot of talent in the squad as well. So when you put the energy and the legs around some of the talented players that we had, that was a massive thing. And then once we got on a roll, you had that belief in that. Almost arrogance in a way, I would say. I remember lining up in the tunnel to go out for games, and I thought, we've practically 1-0 up already. Like these look scared stiff. Like especially at home, you just had that confidence of like we almost going into games 1-0 up, because I just felt that they were looking at some of the lads in the tunnel and thinking, wow, how am I going to stop him today? Like so Wes and Halty and Chrissy Martin. The amount of goals we had in the team with them three was frightening.
I'm so pleased that you brought up the team, Michael, because of course we, like every guest, we ask for their best Norwich City 11 from their time at the club, and you are no different. You have submitted your best 11, as you say. There were some goals in that side. You've made some big decisions. Here is your best 11. Let's get it up on screen. I hope you like the hat. What a side this is, Michael. I mean, I guess we should maybe go through it, but back to front. I mean, starting with Fraser Forster in goal. For me, a goalkeeper that doesn't really often get talked about enough. I think he was an absolutely fantastic goalkeeper. You could really see at that point that he was going to go on to have a fantastic career. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, he was brilliant. He was only young at the time as well. When you think about it, when he came in, we had some good keepers. Young Declan Rudd, and obviously when John Ruddy came in. But Fraser that season, I thought was fantastic. Especially that game at the Valley. I thought he was unbelievable. It was one of the best games I've seen a goalkeeper have. Certainly when I've been on the pitch as well. I just think he gave us so much belief having him behind us. And the career he went on to have. I played against him in Scotland when he was at Celtic, beating 1-0 in the cup final, so I'll get that one. But yeah, he's had a fantastic career, and you see the games he had, against Barcelona, in the Champions League, England international. So yeah, for me, he's probably the best goalkeeper I've played with in my career.
Yeah, I agree, and I'm so pleased you've given him some praise, because he's not one that's often picked. This back line, again, there's some absolutely outstanding players in here. Must admit, Michael, I'm a bit disappointed you've not picked yourself. You're a bit too humble, it seems. but you've gone with a partnership of the Ginger Pele and Elliot Ward. I mean, kick off with those two at the back. What were they like as defenders to play alongside?
Yeah, well, Doc pretty much got sort of pushed out when Lambert first came in. When actually him and Wes both did during probably the first month, and then Doc came back in through injury. I think it was probably me. I think I got injured at MK Dons, and Doc came back in and he was playing with Jens. And then once I got over my injury, I got back in and me and Doc played together. And he had that ability to get the ball down and play, but he didn't mind roughing it and getting his head in there. He was a little bit of a cultured centre half, but he could mix it as well. And I think he again had a fantastic career. But yeah, I really enjoyed playing alongside him. Wardy again when he came in, again another one who was good on the ball and didn't mind playing left or right hand side. Had a good partnership with him, I felt, when we played together. And yeah, he was another, both big lads, but both very good on the floor with the ball as well.
And a word on your left and right backs. Russell Martin, of course, now manager of Swansea City, and Adam Jury, club legend. What was it like to have those two guys, covering you from those positions?
Yeah, well, obviously playing with a diamond, we need a lot of energy in the full-back positions to provide the width. Russ was up and down and really good defender, solid player, good going forward and really good defensively. And, Adam Drury got lots of assists from the high, wide left areas, and he was probably one of the best 1v1 defenders that I've played with or seen, to be honest. You knew that if a winger lined him up and tried to get by him, then he could cope with him 1v1, so you weren't too worried about having to get over and cover him.
You'll never beat the Jury, as the chant went. Michael, let's move up now into this midfield. And I tell you what, it seems that there's a bit of a common occurrence here that you've picked sort of underrated players. I mean, Andrew Crofts, David Fox, the King of Spain, they're all in there. A word on those three midfielders first and foremost.
Yeah, I think there's three other players who were probably unlucky not to get in. Darryl Russell during the first year sitting at the base of the diamond, but I just thought when Foxy came in, he had the ability to dictate whether the game was going to go quick or whether it was going to go slow. He'd come and get it. He'd make our jobs as centre half so easy. We just had to make a 5-10 yard pass to Foxy, and then he would go and orchestrate the attack. Corey Smith again, probably unlucky to miss out, but Crofty was a bit more experienced, full of energy. The amount of work Crofty got through, again, you needed loads of energy on the side of the diamond, and Crofty's energy was unreal. Really good at driving in the box and trying to get on the end of crosses, but his recovery to get back in, and loved the tackle. So yeah, Corey just misses out to him. And then the other side, you've got Laps and probably Sermons, probably unlucky not to be in there. But I think 44 games, I think Laps played that League One season, and he provided the corner for me to score at the Valley as well. So I had to put him in there. But and again, another great player, great quality on the ball, but his work rate out of possession was infectious as well.
We love the Laps here on the TNC podcast, and don't you worry, Norwich fans, we will be going through that monumental day at the Valley for sure. Let's now go to these front three. I mean, this diamond, I honestly think Norwich City haven't had. I don't think we've been that potent ever in my whole entire life. Watching those three players play together, Wesley, Chrissy Martin, and of course Holty. What was it about those three, Michael, in your opinion, that made them just so good in that league?
Once they got on a roll, they just had that fear factor about them. I mean, Wes would take the ball anywhere. You could give him the ball anywhere on the pitch with, 2-3 men around him, and you knew 8-9 times out of 10 he wasn't going to lose it. And he attracted players. So the fact that Wes attracted so many players freed up Holty and Chrissy. Chrissy was a bit more of a on the shoulder running in behind, Holty a bit of a target man, but Holty did have the the power to run in behind and hold the ball up, link play, and just absolutely ruthless when he got in on goal. Whether it was the ball at his feet or the a cross onto his head. I remember getting to a stage in the season where they got 60 goals between them, the three of them, and I just thought, wow, it was unbelievable.
Oh, just such an outstanding side. Appreciate you submitting that. I don't think many of the best 11s will beat that one, even in the Championship and Premier League players that we've had on, Michael. So thank you very much for submitting that. And I want to throw a random memory at you now. Hartlepool away, and the reason for that is, of course, you, out of absolutely nowhere, with all the love and respect in the world, you scored an overhead kick, and of course it was against your old club. I remember that day. You didn't have a particularly nice reception from their fans, which must have hurt. So what was that day like for you? Because that was just crazy.
Yeah, it was. I think it was my first start under Lambert. I think I came back into the team that day, yeah, and I remember going up, and we were staying at a hotel up there, travelled up, me and Holty room together, and I remember getting up there, and as we were going up, Holty said, you get a good reception, won't you, tomorrow? And he said, I said, I don't know. I said, because it was a bit in the press when I left about, trying to say I left for the money and stuff like that. I said, so I'm not too sure. He went, will you celebrate if you score? And I went, depend on the reception I get, probably. And then obviously I got quite a few boos when my name got read out, and then to score was brilliant, but to score it in the manner that I did, and just coming back in the team, I had a point to prove to the manager that I was worthy of starting every week. So yeah, emotions were high, and yeah, loved it.
It was brilliant. I vividly remember it, and I was just like, hang on a minute, what? Michael Nelson? Like, I just couldn't believe the overhead kick. The whole the story behind it, of course, scoring against your old club who you'd made so many appearances for, the hostile reception. Michael, you mentioned one thing there, and I didn't know this. What was Holty like as a roommate? A friend of the channel, but let's be honest now, what is he like to share a room with?
Messy.
Right.
Yeah, just wasn't very tidy. Made a nice cup of tea, to be fair, when you managed to get him to do it, but it wasn't very often. But yeah, we roomed together, lived together for a while we were down there as well. Obviously, without both our families being up north, so yeah, got on well and still speak to him now. But yeah, very messy as a roommate.
I'm so pleased you're giving him some banter. That's what we like to do on this podcast. Right, we can't do a TNC podcast special with the Admiral Nelson without, of course, talking about that iconic day at the Valley, the scene of the previous season's devastating relegation-leading defeat. That day, we needed a result to return back to the Championship. Of course, you mentioned it in your best 11, the King of Spain, whips in a beautiful corner. You stick your skull on it. It's in the back of the net. You must have been on cloud 9 that day, Michael.
Yeah, I just remember it was a red hot day, and we knew we had a chance of sort of getting promoted, and obviously where it was with the scene of the relegation, even though some of us weren't part of it, we knew how important it was to the fans and to the people that were there during that time. Like I say, Charlton themselves were right up there. That League One at the time was littered with big clubs, Southampton, Charlton, Leeds, Huddersfield, ourselves. So Charlton were really fighting for probably an automatic spot at the time as well. So it was a really big game. They had a good side, and yeah, Fraser Forster was fantastic that day, and the ball in from laps just came nicely, arrived at the back post, and yeah, when it went in, it was a really nice feeling. But it was still quite early in the game, so we still had a long way to go, and to see it through, keeping a clean sheet, and in front of that end, which was littered with Norwich fans, was unbelievable.
I just remember your cello that day, Michael. You sort of just stood there with your hands on the hips, like looking at the Norwich fans, like I'm the man. And it was just absolutely brilliant. What was the party like that night? Come on, I think we need to sort of now indulge in a bit of storytelling. What happened on the bus? What happened on the train?
I wasn't on the bus. We knew we were going to be off Sunday, so me, Holty, Michael, Rose, a few of the Northern boys, we got on a tube or a train at Charlton into King's Cross. Holty and Rosie went across to Euston, I think, to get the train up the west coast to Manchester and Carlisle, and I went from King's Cross up the east coast to Newcastle. So yeah, we had a few days off. So sort of, I think it was only us three. I think we on the train from Charlton into King's Cross, and obviously loads of or Liverpool Street. I can't remember where we went to, and loads of Norwich fans on there handing cans out. So we were sat on the train or stood on the train like sardines, singing songs and drinking cans with the Norwich fans. So yeah, it was really good. I don't know what the bus was like with the lads. I would imagine it was good. But yeah, we went home, and I got on the train at King's Cross to go back up. I just remember buying a few cans of Stella from the woman that came round and just sat on me own with a few cans for the 3 hours journey home. Yeah, it was brilliant, to be fair.
Oh, that's brilliant. Well, sack the bus off. I'm pleased. I mean, that tube and that train sounds like it was the place to be, Michael. I tell you, absolutely brilliant. I mean, what a day that was. And of course, it was that day that the nickname was born, the Admiral Nelson. How do you feel about that nickname? Because I remember seeing posters on the streets with the Admiral Nelson with your face photoshopped on it, and you became somewhat of a cult hero with the Norwich fans. Did that weigh quite heavy on you, or did you absolutely love it?
No, I loved it. I thought it was great. I think that weekend, I think it was actually that night, I got a picture sent to me from somebody with the Norfolk's County, or the Admiral's
County, yeah.
It had my name on it, so it was like Michael Nelson's County or something like that. So yeah, I got that photograph sent to me that night, I think, or that weekend. So yeah, it was brilliant, and it stuck wherever I went, and still sticks now. So yeah, it was nice.
It did, and I don't mind revealing to the Norwich fans, in order to secure this interview, I of course knocked on the door of your old roomie, Grant Holt, and of course your contact on WhatsApp on Grant Holt's phone was the Admiral Nelson. So clearly that name has always stuck, which is just absolutely brilliant. Michael, let's talk about that second season now, if you don't mind. I guess I don't know whether it's going to be uncomfortable for you or not, but obviously, you only played 8 times that season, but yeah, we did the double bounce and got to the Premier League. So that must have been a real mixture of emotions for you that season.
Yeah, when the season finished, the League One season finished, you obviously know the size of the club, and you know the ambitions of the club, and you know they're going to go out and they're going to recruit well in the summer. So I had an element of when we went into meetings with Lambert at the end of the season, I had an element of, I know I've got a year left on my contract. Is he going to tell me that, look, I'm going to bring other people in? If you can find somewhere else, then you know, I won't stand in your way. But he didn't. You know, he said he wanted to keep me, and you know, I was really pleased. So give me a bit of a boost through the summer, and then I came back, and obviously we'd signed a couple of players. You know, some good centre halves. So I knew I had to be on it to try and get in the team. And that first game of the season, you know, I wasn't only in the team, but due to Holty being out, I managed to, you know, the manager gave me the armband, so I actually captained the team against Watford and scored. So it was good. Started the first 4 games, I think, and then unfortunately, 4 minutes to go against Swansea at home, ruptured me ATFL in my ankle, and that kept me out for around about 11 weeks. So that was probably the main factor in why the decision was made to leave in the January window.
I was going to ask you about that, Michael, because that was a bit of a strange one, because obviously from the Norwich fans' perspective, we were like, we've got to keep the Admiral. Of course, we've got to keep the Admiral. A captain obviously started the season well, unlucky with a really bad injury. Were you ready to leave Norwich City, or did you want to stay? What sort of conversations were going on around that time?
I had a lot of interest when the manager brought Zach back into Zach Whitbread back into the team to add a bit of balance. I was playing, I think I was playing sort of left-hand side of the back four at times, centre half, and he put Zach in. He said he was doing it for some balance, and look, I never fell out with the manager over it. I just knew I had to get my head down and work hard and get back in. And then that was over Christmas time, I think. I think my last game was Middlesbrough away at the Riverside around about New Year's Day. So through January, I didn't really feature much. I was always on the bench and always involved. Millwall came in to try and loan me. Kenny Jackett, Scunthorpe came in and tried to loan me. And the manager pulled me at the time, told me, he said, "Look, I'm not letting you go out on loan. I don't want you to go out on loan." So I was happy. Then he pulled me in one day and he just said, "Look, Scunthorpe have asked if they put a bid in for a permanent deal, would we be willing to accept it?" And we've just said it would depend on the bid, and obviously depend on you, your decision. And that was deadline day. I remember I finished training, I went for a haircut, and I was getting a haircut in the town, and the gaffer rang, and he said, "Look, we've accepted a bid from Scunthorpe. If you're happy, you'll have to head up there tonight to get it done before deadline day, before the deadline." So I said, "Yeah, look, I'll speak to them." So I spoke to them, and then I got in the car and I headed up. And the deal was good, to be fair. At Scunthorpe, in terms of the length of time, I think I got the rest of that season, another 2, and then an option, which would have took me till something like 34-year-old. So I was driving up, everything was agreed. It was getting close to the deadline, and I was literally just driving into the car park at Scunthorpe, and the gaffer rang me, and he just said, "Look, are you sorted?" And I said, "I'm just pulling up now. I'll have to do a medical and what have you." And he said, "Look," I think it was a Monday night. He said, "Look, what they're giving you." He said, "I don't want to know money-wise, but what they're giving you time-wise." So I told him, and he said, "Look, I can't guarantee that amount of time in terms of another sort of 2.5 years." And he said, "I know it's closer to home. It's 2 hours closer to home." He said, "Look, go in. If they try and move the goalposts and they try and, because it's close to the deadline, they try and say, 'Oh, well, we can't give you that. We're going to give you this.' He said, get in a car, drive back down. You'll be on the bench at Portsmouth tomorrow. And I won't treat you any different. You'll be part of the squad and everything." He said, so don't think because you've gone up there, if they move the goalposts and try and force you to sign something a little bit less," he said, "just get in the car, drive back down, and you'll be involved." So, as it turned out, everything was all right. Got the deal signed and went there with the manager's best wishes, and he couldn't have been any better about it, to be honest. And always had a good relationship with him right up until now. And I think he did it for as much my reasons as well, trying to get me back closer to home and prolonging my career. And yeah, everything worked out well in the end.
Yeah, fair play. I mean, my overriding reaction to that is fair play. Respect for the way that was handled, which is different to quite a few Norwich players that leave the club. So that's reassuring, because you want to hear that someone that has been so good for the club, so loyal to the club, obviously scored such an iconic goal. You want to make sure that they leave on the right notes. That's reassuring to hear. And it really showed me, Michael, just how much the Norwich fans respected you, because I remember when you came back to Cannow Road, if you remember as well, playing for Scunny, and for the first time in a long time, the Norwich fans gave you a standing ovation. What was your sort of reaction and emotions, when you kind of saw that happen?
Yeah, I knew I'd get a good reaction, just purely for the goal at Charlton, but didn't expect the size and the volume of it. Like singing your name and stuff like that. The whole stadium practically. When you're on the opposition team, especially considering I hadn't had that long of a period there and hadn't played, you know, over 100 games or anything like that. You know, played 306 games for Hartlepool and got booed when I went back. You know, played a portion of that for Norwich, and 25,500 fans are singing your name and really showing you how much they appreciate what you've done. So yeah, it was a little bit emotional, if I'm honest. And then every time I've been back, you know, to play in charity games or testimonials and stuff like that, the reception's been absolutely fantastic. And you know, support and messages I get every time I sort of a job changes or something happens in my personal life from fans in Norwich is really heartwarming, you know.
I notice on your social media every time you say something, and Norwich fans always rock up referring to you as the Admiral, hope you're well, and all of that stuff, which is just brilliant. And Michael, I guess the final thing to ask you is what sort of message do you have for those Norwich fans, the Yellow Army that, you know, witnessed that iconic goal at the Valley, the fans that followed you up and down the country, that cheered your name when you came back? What's your message to the Norwich City fans?
Just thank you, really. You know, for all the support during my time at the club. You know, there wasn't too many difficult times. You know, it was pretty successful while I was there, so there wasn't too much heartache. But yeah, you know, following us home and away, some of the away followings. I remember going to Southend on a Tuesday night, and we had something like 3,500 there. So, you know, the backing was unbelievable. And like I say, I think one of the biggest things is the amount of support and messages I've had since I've left the club. In the early stages when I first left, and then even up till now, still getting messages from Norwich fans. And every time that sort of anniversary of the Charlton day comes around, you get the videos sent to you and stuff like that. And it's you know, it's really good to have. So just a massive thank you to everyone connected with the club, really.
Oh, mate, it's been an absolute pleasure and privilege speaking with you today. I really appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much.
No problem.
And thank you so much to all of the Norwich fans watching and listening to this around the world. If you've enjoyed this episode with the Admiral himself, why not give us a 5-star review on iTunes and Spotify, something, a thumbs up on YouTube, tweet us, Instagram us at TalkNorwichCity, and I will share all of your feedback as a thanks for your support. Finally, Michael, the Admiral, there's only one thing left to say. What's that?
On the ball, City.
Come on.